A new agent asked me while she's writing the offer for one of her buyers who has never closed on a house before. She said, Reggie, the agent said, hey, Reg, if my buyer can't close, they get their earnest money back, right? I said, well, it depends. It depends on where you are in the contract and the contingencies that you have mutually agreed upon in that contract. It depends on where you are when your buyer either decides they don't want the house or for some reason it's determined that they can't buy the house. I'll explain it right here.
Call or click 404 Eclipse.
You know, earnest money is one of the things that confuse the buyer more than just about any other piece of a sales contract. I've got another video, I'll put it in the link below, that describes what earnest money is and what earnest money isn't. It's in the link below. But to that question, if the buyer can't close, do they get their earnest money back? I'll tell you, it's very simple. You have contingencies, typically 3 in a residential sales contract. One of them is the inspection period. Let's say you got a 10-day inspection period and you decide on day 8 that the house is too torn up and you don't want the house and you want to terminate. If you do it inside of those 10 days, you get your earnest money back. Okay, here's 2. Here's a second out of 3. Let's say you got a 15-day financing contingency. By the way, that 10-day clock is spinning at the same time the 15-day clock is spinning for the financing contingency. So let's say on day 12, you hear from the lender that you just can't qualify for the loan. Well, if you've got a 15-day financing contingency and you find out on day 12 that you can't get the loan, then you terminate. You say, hey, I need my earnest money back. I had 15 days. I figured out in 12 that I can't get the loan. Right? So if your contingencies haven't expired, and that's 2, if they have not expired yet, and you either terminate out of choice or terminate because you just can't qualify in that example, you get your earnest money back. 2 more points here. One of these last 2 points is the appraisal contingency. Let's say you have a $300,000 contract price and you've got a contingency that says it has to appraise for at least $300,000. If it only appraises for $280,000 and the seller won't sell it for $280,000 and you're not going to make up the difference, in this example it would be $20,000, well then you can terminate based on the appraisal contingency. But I've had people say, look, I had a 30-day close and on day 28 I decided I didn't want the house. I should get my earnest money back. Not necessarily. Not if your other contingencies have already expired. So here it is in one sentence. If all of your contingencies have expired and you decide you can't close, or it is determined that you can't close, you don't get your earnest money back. There it is. It can be very hard news for folks if their agent doesn't explain that time is of the essence. You hear it all the time. If you let certain things expire, yeah, you could lose your earnest money. It's that simple. Good information, but in some situations, not good news. You know how to reach me. There's a number.